Good afternoon, all. I guess it's time again for us to start another interesting session. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Great. So, we have, as a format, we have kept most of the speakers over here. I mean, apart from obviously Dr. Rattan Sharma, we have kept a lot of them on mute so as to avoid any kind of in between disturbances and all that. But however, just to let you know, we'll all be accepting a lot of questions from you all throughout the session on the Zoom chat box. But for the initial purpose, we have kept some speakers on mute. So good afternoon. I welcome you all. I welcome Dr. Rattan Sharma. I welcome all the dignitaries over here. And definitely thanks to Dr. Sunil, who has organized this yet another session from AIMS, Association of Indian Management Schools. This is an exciting knowledge sharing session on the topic towards green economy policies and possibilities. For sharing the inputs and highlighting the importance of green economy in today's world, wherein we are all moving towards sustainable development. We have with us Dr. Rattan Sharma, Professor Emeritus, Delhi School of Business and Chairman Center for Sustainable Development, DSP and VIPTC. Thank you so much for joining, Dr. Sharma. I welcome you again. We have had an interesting session earlier as part of AIMS, if you remember, and we are having another. Yes. To start with, before starting this interesting session, I would like to really highlight the importance of AIMS and what AIMS has contributed to the young management generation. So in the annals of management education sector, 27th August 1988 should be remembered as a great landmark, as it was on this day the Association of Indian Management Schools, AIMS, a highly impact-making networking body, was born. It was the strong support of about 550 high-ranking B schools as its member and is one of the largest networking bodies in the world. It is an umbrella organization for the management institutions. So AIMS, as we all know, has been involved in protecting the interest of management institutions from from restrictive government regulations, professionalization of management education, sort of creation and dissemination of management-related knowledge through its various activities, like so many roundtables for deans and directors, faculties, and student development events, organization conventions. They have had so many formats, so many ways in which they have contributed a lot on the management society. So definitely, it's interesting to be associated with AIMS, which has been instrumental in bringing a lot of management professionals together and sharing the inputs on in the management arena. Again, to have a small and short brief of today's speaker, Dr. Rattan Sharma. We have with us Dr. Rattan Sharma, who has got a rich experience of more than 45 years in the field of education, an alumnus of SRCC and Delhi School of Economics, Delhi University. He's currently associated with DSP and Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies in Delhi. He's also chairman for Center of Sustainable Development with VIPS and DSP. Just to give you a highlight, Dr. Sharma began his career in teaching at an affiliated college in Delhi University. Some of the elite institutes where Dr. Sharma has worked include IIM Lucknow, MDI Gurgaon, SP Jain Institute of Management and Research Mumbai, Administrative Staff College of India in Hyderabad, and he's also been director of business schools in private sectors. He was also EFMD fellow in Manchester Business School, UK, and has worked on factors various influencing abnormal returns on corporate equities in UK and so on. A lot of laurels where he has really contributed to the education sector and in general society. I welcome you all. Just to give you a brief of why we have chosen this particular topic, because sustainable development and green economy, as we all know, has become something which is very, very important. Because in recent times, the concept of green economy has been seen as a future for the world. This is due to the challenges humanity is facing with and will continue to face, and unless we do some change about it. So humanity is experiencing climate change, biodiversity loss. There's a lot of ongoing inequality among, we have seen so many fights and so many shootouts happening because of the inequality. These issues affect not only the climate, but also the development of the countries. To combat these issues and have solutions that can improve the challenges of humanity, which our humanity faces. A green economy is something which is the need of the hour. And it needs to move away from being in a pipeline dream and finally become a reality. So, we want to know, and Dr. Sharma would be highlighting a lot on green economy and the possibilities and the policies that the government and the corporates and the other institutions are implementing. So we really want to know, whether this is in reality or is it still a dream, a far-fetched dream, which we have to achieve. So maybe this is a point. This is a thought that I can put forward right now and have with us Dr. Rattan Sharma really take this forward from here. So over to you, Dr. Sharma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, for this nice introduction of the topic and also about me. Really, I'm thankful to AIMS for providing me this opportunity to really discuss issue relating to towards the green economy. That's the theme. Some of the policies and the possibilities which exist in India and elsewhere. Before really I coming to that part, I think I should mention that we started talking about, at least at our center, this green economy and other sustainable development issues. Brief background is that we wanted to solve some of the issues relating to the practical aspects of the society. Though I have been in the field of management education for quite some time, and my specialization happened to be in accounting, finance, and I have been teaching, in fact, in that area. But I realized that I think there are societal issues which are really we have to deal with. Now, those were important considerations that we probably thought that we should try to get into this part of the sustainable development. Second thing which was always been in my mind was that the problems that we are facing, they are more holistic in nature. They are all integrated with not very functional specialization alone. So I think this was another thing which we thought that we should try really to dwell upon some of those holistic aspects of solving the business problems or the societal problems, let me put it this way. And thirdly, what I'm really going to discuss, and I'm sure with this audience, which is the faculty, I think the already learned people, in fact, I'm feeling little, feeling in a way that you already know about many things, or rather most of the things. But still, the orientation which I'm going to have is more on the managerial orientation about the sustainable development and towards the green economy, which is going to be there. So broadly, these are the three things which I thought that before we start the topic about it, we should try to get into that. Hope it will be all right. And I'm sure there will be a mutual interaction in terms of learning, because ultimately we are all doing certain work in these directions. And we should try really to exchange knowledge, how really we should try to solve some of those problems or the issues. I must hurriedly add that we started a course, in fact, in our institute about the sustainability and business in this context. Though I'm sure you are all aware that sustainability is a term which is being often used, and it is used in this in every, in fact, functional area. But I think our context was more on the sustainable development, and hence we thought we should require another course for this, and we started this for our PGDM students. So our orientation remained that our management students should, in fact, focus on the societal issues and look into that, because ultimately, when they are the managers, they will be solving some of the societal problems. They cannot be without solving them problems to make profits or maybe existing in the long run. So that was broadly the part of a thing which I'm really going to discuss in a few minutes now. I must also mention here a very interesting part, which I'm sure most of you are aware. when we really try to get into discussing societal issues, there was a period historically that in the world, the world over, people have been doing a good work in terms of the economic progress or the economic growth, which was taking place both in Europe and the world, and everywhere this was being there somehow. So, and then when such thing happen, when the growth takes place, prosperity happens, I'm sure there are some people always, they try really to look into what we refer to sometimes thought leaders. They sometimes stop and they try to think which direction we are moving. And I think if you look at it, the people who are working very hard, they were earning a lot of money, they were being employed in nice positions. And they are what we now refer to as a throwaway societies, though presently also this happens. They have plenty of money, but they don't have really the time to spend. So all those situations which was happening. So it was around the time 1970s, which is said to be the golden era of capitalism. Some people, something around 30 number, they got together. And I think these people, they were, in fact, happened to be the people, those who are scientists, they were politicians, they were bureaucrats, and those people, those were trying really to look into as to what is happening. So they started looking these things. How really things, prosperity is really taking shape, what is happening in this context. And that is what was happening in 1970 onwards. Now, so what happened that some of those people, they started talking about, is this worth? We should try to get into that, whatever we are doing it. Yeah, so what was happening around 1970 was, which is said to be the golden era of capitalism. There are some of the people, they got together, they started thinking, what is this happening, in fact, in our world over? And those were, as I said it to you, bureaucrats, politicians, etc. They said together, a meeting happened in the Rome. This is called Club of Rome. I'm sure you are all aware. And they started talking about, what is this happening? Are we really trying to make money for the sake of it, or there has to be a growth? There's a limit to the growth. And that is what the first time people started talking about what we say, the economic growth. They say, is there a limit to it, or there's no limit at all? I think it's a very interesting thing which happened at that time, limits to growth. And since we are a faculty, we, at least personally, had some interest as to what is that they have said. So what are those factors which they really took into account? And they came out with an interesting research. And this was limits to growth. It was one of the Professor Meadow. He was chairing that group of the research which was being conducted by them. And very interesting, I'm sure you will be able to know that some of those factors which they said, if they continue to grow rapidly, then I think there will be a limit to growth with the end of the 100 years or something around the century or so. It was a very interesting thing which happened. I don't think before that people were really talking about those issues. So those factors, and I think it's worth probably noting, these are the population growth which was happening. Now, if population, you know it, I mean, some of the factors which refers to the population growth. Now, as population grow, I'm sure there's a more mouths to eat, and likewise, many things really happens and more of the production take place and so on and so forth. So this was one very important factor, which was very important, which they came out with. Second thing was, they happened was the food production. Food was being produced. I think there was a wastage, of course, but a lot of food being produced, and I'm sure there were more people, much was being eaten. And not only that, also some of the other resources which were there, they were being used by the people. This was another factor which was happening. It was growing very fast. Third thing was relating to the pollution. More pollution taking place, I think, at that time because of the industrial activity which was taking place. And that was, again, an industrialization. That was an era of industrialization. This was, again, a very important thing. And finally, it was the consumption of non-renewable natural resources. Those which cannot be renewed, those resources, they were consuming quite a lot. And their findings were very simple. And that if you continue to use those resources, or if the consumption of these resources grow rapidly, I think they're bound to be limit to growth, which is going to take place within 100 years or so. So it was, I will not say that it was a word of caution, in fact, in a way. So this was the first time when somebody put a full stop to what happens to the growth. And this was being taken very seriously. Now, I'm sure we are all aware of it. Then I think we headed in 1983 a commission, which is the World Commission on Environment and Development, and which later on get into a Brundtland Commission. And they came out with a report called Common Future. And this is the first time they systematically, formally used the term sustainable development. Though it was earlier it was being used, but then it was in a different context. So sustainable development was first used in a very formal fashion, and they define it also formally, which is to meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. I think this was an interesting part which happened, and this was in the year 1987, the first time this was being really put forward. So I think if you just look at it, the sustainability part, which is where we always use this, that we should try to get into the development which is for long term, then I think the first time this came out in a very formal fashion, 1987. Of course, later on, I'm sure those who have taught or are studying or doing research, it leads to some of those, what we say, MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, which were 18 numbers. They said that we should come out with that. And it was said that 2000 onwards to 15, we should be able to attain those goals. But somehow it so happened that we couldn't do it. There was an assessment, what we refer to impact assessment, which took place. And later on, it leads in 2015, these were sustainable development goals, which really happened. Now, the point I'm making is very simple, that I think the whole idea, and I'm sure we all are aware, there are three broad issues that we are concerned with: the economic issue, the social issue, and also the issue relating to the environment. And I think this is more to do with what refers again, those three principles. And if suppose we have the social and economic sustainability, then it becomes much more equitable. And if the social and environmental sustainability will lead to the more bearable, you can bear it. And economic environment sustainability leads to more viable sort of an sustainability. And later on, UN came out with some of the 5 principles. Initially, I'm sure most of you were aware that 3 principles we were talking about. There are 3 P's we were talking about: profit, people, and planet. And now it was reverse. Of course, the order got reversed. Frankly, let me admit, the first time when I read the annual report long back about the ITC, the triple bottom line, triple principles, and particularly the bottom line, which was being I really came to know of it a long time ago, the very first time. And then they said it's a profit, people, and planet. Now it's being reversed. The planet comes first, then the people and the profit later on. But in UN, they have added 2 more P's. I think that's a very interesting part. I'm sure we all as a faculty, because we are a thought leader and we know what is happening all around in the present context, we see the partnership and peace. Now, those are important things which are added, because without that, sustainable development cannot take place. Why I'm mentioning all these things is simply because that is our goal. Sustainable development is our goal, is there, which means that what we are really saying is that development should take place on a sustainable basis. And that is what really we are talking about. That's how we should try to have it. That was the whole idea. That's why I thought that we should try to really discuss, first of all, the context, the objective that we are having it in this way. So that's the 5 principles. I should also mention here, those 17 goals is nothing like something new to all of you. But I just put it that, 17 goals incorporate, at least in a formal fashion, wherein a large number of countries, rather most of them, they have signed, look here, that we will like to achieve it from 2015 to 2030. So 15 years down the line, we will try to achieve these 17 goals. And relating the first being the poverty, hunger, etc., and so on. And that's what is there. I must mention that we as a center, tried last year to have a conference on SDG 4, which is the quality education, and it was well received by a number of people, those who attended it. By those, many papers came, and these people from the corporate sector also attended it. It means many of the institutions, I'm sure some of you, those who are attending, also getting into attending those SDGs. The whole idea being that we should try to move towards the development which is much more sustainable, and goal refers to that we are trying really to focus on certain criteria, and I think that gives us certain strategies also that we will be able to do that. There was the context in which I thought I should try to mention this part. Though nothing new, but I thought I should try to mention it. Now, coming to when we achieve sustainable development goals, how do we really try to go about it? Now, there are few terms, and as a faculty, we come to know that there is a green growth, green economy, and then sustainable development. Interesting part was happening that UN was trying in one way to get into the green economy, also the World Economic Forum also getting into that. And there was another organization called OECD. That is also moving in terms of these goals, which is Sustainable Development Goal, and they use the term green growth. So I think this many times, we get confused as to whether it's green growth or green economy or whatever we are talking about. But to my understanding, I think maybe personally, I understand that economy is slightly bigger one, and growth is a strategy which moves towards an economy leading to sustainable development. I believe that green economy is a vehicle for attaining sustainable development, which means certain growth aspects have to be there. But let's not get into that part. I'm sure as a faculty, many times when we do research, we come to know many of those things, but I think we should not get into that part of the thing. Now, what is that really refers to the green economy? Though conceptually we should be clear, because we are an academician, we should be clear about when we are what is the term we are referring to. Green economy refers to, number one, they refer to the human well-being. This is a very important part. And human well-being, when I'm referring to, and I'm sure this is what UNEP come out with, it refers to more of the physical well-being, the emotional part, the mental part, and the spiritual, and every aspect, in fact, the holistic human well-being, which means education, health, etc., and other things they are also to be there. Second is more also to do with the social equity part of it. Now, when we talk about social equity, which means we are really talking about is more of inclusiveness, and that's what refers to. And third is we refer to the environmental risk, which means we are talking about the pollution, the carbon contents which are involved in this case. So broadly, UNEP really came out with this sort of a definition, which of course, one may really say when we see the practical point of view, it refers to the low carbon economy. This also refers to the human being, the human well-being, in fact, which is what it should be there. And third, it relates to any environmental risks or the security which are there relating to the social aspects which are broadly concerned. So green economy, as I said it, I believe that this is more of in terms of a vehicle towards the sustainable development. And it is trying to balance those aspects. Now, having said it, I was also trying really to get into that, how really we should try really to get into these aspects. I just have that very interesting part happened was that India, as of now, I talked about the 1970 limits to growth. After 20 years, they came out with a beyond limits to growth. They also beyond this limit. And of course, this UN came out in the formal way. But today, I think if you look at India, World Economic Forum came out very interesting part that we are at a crossroad. We know it as a faculty. We know that part of a thing which is happening. Now, we are at a crossroad. There are a few transitions taking place. I'm sure we are all aware of them. But I think this is important. Those transitions are important, which we should be, when we try really to have a course to be developed or trying to discuss those issues, we should always keep those transitions in mind. One transition is something which is unavoidable. We cannot avoid it. It is taking place. it is important. It is unavoidable. And second is something like of aspirational transition which is taking place. When I'm referring to the unavoidable transition taking place in India, I'm referring to, for example, the population growth which is taking place. You are all aware that when the population is growing, I'm sure there are more jobs being needed. Those parts will be needed by the people. And for that, we need to have the livelihoods to be created. And I think the people require that part of a thing. So that one part is very simple. We can't really do it. So if we are not able to create more jobs, and it will be certainly a problem. And it is said by someone that we will grow old before we grow rich. And that is what is happening, because the demographic dividend, if you do not really try to exploit, is going to be a problem. So it is something which is unavoidable, which is taking place. This is a transition. And I believe very strongly when you look at the data, I'm not getting into that data. I must say that this is more of a general sort of a presentation. I'm getting it rather than a very specific or a technical part. Second transition, which seems to be happening, is aspirational. And aspirational part is then you want the people are moving from rural side to urban side, or it is the urbanization and urban, and they look for that whatever is happening, good facilities on urban side. Then why don't we try really to take advantage of those facilities, the various the housing facilities, the food related or other services which are there in urban. So urbanization leads to again demand for those services. This seems to be happening. And there is formalization. You look for not that informal, but formal of security in terms of things which are happening. You look for a demand, in fact. And this is important part which seems to be happening. So two transitions taking place at the same time in India, and that is very, very important. Second thing which is happening simultaneously, there are certain things which is happening, the emergencies which are happening. Again, World Economic Forum, I think this report this says that these are, number one, the emergency which is immediate, which means we have to solve the problems immediately for some of those things, immediately. For example, COVID-19, I think this took place. We have to rebuild, we have to restore the economy. This is an immediate problem. We can't really postpone this problem. So this is an emergency which has happened. This was COVID-19. This has really taken toll of, and therefore we have to solve it. Second emergency is little more what we say. It is an era defining, as they say it. Era defining refers to that something which can be long term. This is a climate change. Now, climate change is affecting every one of us. I think more we study, more we realize, more we do it, we realize it. I think climate change is very biggest problem which seems to be happening. Yes. And for some of you, those who are probably new to this part, climate change refers to the long-term shift in the various elements of the climate. Long-term shift. I'm not a short-term. We are not talking of weather conditions. We are talking of the long-term shifts which are taking place. And this is to be taken care of. These are very important things which are there. So we got on the one hand, transitions taking place, also two emergencies which are taking place. And also interesting part which seems to be happening is that India, we are having a per capita, emission of the greenhouse gases is very low as compared to, let's suppose, for US, China, and third, of course, comes to India. But per capita emission is very low. But what is no guarantee, rather not a guarantee. I should say per capita potential of future emission by India will be very high. I'm sure you will agree with this, that currently our GDP growth rate is high as on an average with the global average. Second is population is also growing. It seems that it will surpass even China in this case. Thirdly, manufacturing, we are getting into this. Therefore, manufacturing require other resources, consuming the resources, the energy, and also leading therefore to the pollution which is going to be there. So from that, the per capita future potential in terms of the emission of those CNG, the greenhouse gases is going to be very, very high, and that we need really to take care of that. Now, we are very much aware. In fact, not only aware, we are concerned with what to do it. Awareness will not do at our level. As a faculty, we can't do that sort of a thing. We need really to be thinking about what is that we should do. And we need to really tell our students also, our colleagues also, to the corporates also, look here, this seems to be happening. That's what is called awareness, making people aware of what is happening. So that we need really to getting into that part. So with this green economy, when we are talking about, as I said, it's a vehicle, we need to identify sectors. Which sectors we should really go for it. And that is an important part. Which sectors we should go for it. But it requires, as that shows, the growth in the public and private investment, because without finance, this is not possible. We'll not be able to really to do that. So I'm just trying to show some of the carbon emissions and loss of those systems which are there. This is important part which we should be trying to take into account. These are some of these projects which are to be taken up. I think this is for the benefit of those who are in the corporate sector, or what are the type of green projects. Why I say these are important from those point of view, because it requires funding, and funding requires some of those things. For example, renewable energy, energy efficiency, pollution prevention and control, environmentally sustainable management, living natural resources, terrestrial and aquatic biodiversity, green transportation, sustainable water and wastewater management, climate change adaptation, circular economy, adapted products, production, technology and processes, and green building. Broadly, these are, in fact, the projects which are being funded world over. In fact, if you just look at it, some of you, those who are in the area of finance, this is what some of the principles of the bond. This has come out with what are the type of projects which can be funded by the international agency. These are the type of projects which are being funded, which we refers to the green projects, which are important. Coming back to the World Economic Forum part, they have suggested 5 important pillars or sectors which really help us. If you are able to identify them, and then you get into those areas. And those sectors, I think if we do it and we are able really to highlight, I think they become very, very important part, though they all form part of whatever we are really saying in this case. For example, energy transition. Energy is one part. Energy gives a lot of, in fact, emission, a lot of pollution it gives, the greenhouse gases this gives. So we need really that energy, which is, next is the mobility. Again, transportation. If suppose you look at it, we'll show some of the slide there. I'm sure this is what I'll show it. This was our diversity, but this is, if you look at this, if you have that, how much type of those greenhouse gases, this being there in the atmosphere, and which sectors in the economy they are just trying to really have that. So same thing, if some studies, because we bank upon as a faculty, we bank upon the researches conducted by some of those top agencies like UN or those as to what sort of things they are available. So greenhouse gases we talk about. So transportation is one very important sector which gives a good amount of really electricity and heat production. This is what power sector. Again, this is what industry is another. Agriculture is another sector. Building is another sector. So these are some of those greenhouse gas in different economic sector. World Economic Forum really talks about these, say, 5 pillars of what we say green economy. If we are able really to have those, strengthen them, and strengthen they are referring probably to that we should try really to provide some of those issues with their, or solve some of the problems which are there. They should be able to, we should be able to solve some of the problems. I mentioned a few, I'm sure, just for the sake of understanding as to what really I'm referring to. We'll take up those issues. I'm sure I've seen this perception that green products are expensive. I'm sure we'll take up later. I'm sure you'll not mind. We'll also be taking those issues. Let me first complete, and that part is there. First is as low carbon energy. Low carbon energy, when we talk about some of those, for example, there's a legacy fossil fuel energy infrastructure we need to build into the renewable part of it. So there's already a legacy which is there for the past. I'm sure you are all aware that we have got normally when we talk of a global warming, we talk about the pre-industrial era, which is 1800 onwards. We are talking about 1800. And recently, we are now coming out with, we should have a temperature of 1.7 degrees Celsius. If we are able to have global average of this type, then I think we will be able to do it. And we believe that if we do that, how really to do that is an issue relating to that global warming, pollution. These are all interrelated stuff, more warming leading to all these things. So I'm just referring to some of these suggestions being mentioned by these people. They say, number one, you need to build infrastructure for renewables. We also need to have reduce the emission level. And this is what requires, once again, what we say, the technological development is important. Technological development. If suppose we are having the technology development, I'm sure we'll be able to do better. And that is important. We say, I just give an example, green mobility, transportation. Now, it is being suggested. To what extent, I think we can discuss that thing. Absolutely no issues at all. One thing is shift in the transport model mix from road to rail. Now, it is suggested, and there are a number of studies. For example, road transport is costlier than the rail transport. And that's what I think people are talking, that can we have more of rails? Now, it requires a huge amount of capital investment for laying down the infrastructure for the railways, but this is one of the possibilities which really probably one can really think of. And then we can also have the green fuel and a green vehicle. For example, fuel efficiency. You have the transportation, which is for example, some of the standards which are being set. Can we have a better transportation and trying to get into that? In this context, we are having the electric vehicles, even hydrogen can also be used and so on. So broadly, what really we are talking about is that if you have those 5 pillars or 5 sectors or maybe 7 sectors, I mean, it's not necessarily we agree to what they say. We have our own sectors, as a government or as a corporate. And we try to see, look here, how we should try to reduce the carbon element, in fact, in this case. So we can really focus on that and what you should try to do it. These studies only help us to understand the direction, which way we should move, how we should move it. That's all. We can have in our own context what sort of things we should try to have it. So as of these World Economic Forum and others, they really talk about the pillars or those sectors which are important, which are 5. They said it. UN and bond principles, they talk about the 8 or 10 principles which are relating to this, or 8 or 10 those green projects. Surely that can be funded for different agencies. Of course, they also talked about, very interesting part, some factors what we refer to the pillars of different sectors. Others are the enablers. We require 4 things. This is what WF says, that you need to have the enablers to have those 5 pillars to function. And those enablers, they are very, very important. We should try really to function on those enablers part. And if we are able to have those, I think we will be able to really get into doing a part of it. These are very important part. For example, enablers are, number 1, technology. It assumes technological development, and that too green technological development. And so I think we in an economy, if suppose our people, they are not technologically not developing, which is a green technology, I'm sure whatever we are really mentioning about the greening the economy will not be taking place. Second is about the finances. And now, of course, that's our area, but I will not dwell into those details of it and got green financing. And I mentioned to you that about those bond principles, they mentioned those 10 different green projects which can be funded by international funding agencies, which I mentioned to that. So these are all. Now, this requires a different taxonomy, different characteristics. You have to define those things. And that is what is important. So financing those is very important. By chance, I'm sure you must be aware of that. The Government of India has come out with the sovereign bonds. First time, maybe the second launch is going to take place. Two have already done it in 23. Also, they will just come out with that to fund those green projects. So it's very specifically mentioned for the green projects that's going to take place. But that is the enabler. Without funds, nothing can be done. So it's very simple. We know it, you know it, and everybody knows that part of it. And I think it's important. Green financing, this is important part of it. Third is the carbon, which we say sequestration. You remove, I mean, we talk about net zero. Net zero, I'm sure for some of you, those who are new to this, net zero refers to a commitment wherein whatever pollution is being they are released in the atmosphere, the same is being taken out from the atmosphere by different techniques. That's all. Which means result is net zero. Whatever is released by the human activity being taken out, and therefore it is net. The result is zero. Now this requires, in fact, certain techniques to be done. You require some natural sink to be either polluted or human made, those things which to be done. But that is an important thing, which we need really a lot of investment, which needs to be getting into that part of it. And fourth is the climate adaptation. And adaptation is, I'm sure we are all aware that we refers to adaptation is, there are two things we are talking about. We are talking about mitigation of and also the adaptation. So mitigation is something where we don't want to have this climate, the effect, and adaptation is that we want to adapt to whatever is happening it. So which means there are a lot of things which need to be doing it. So adaptation is also needing. So enabling part, therefore, what really we are mentioning is pillars, which means the sectoral part, also the enabler parts. These are very, very important things which really we should be trying to get into this mind. And finally, I think I must say, I'll of course have a few slides, but I must mention if you want to get into the green economy, three things which are very, very crucial. They are called the drivers. They are the drivers of the green economy. They are drivers. And drivers are, number one, we should have the strong political will. If we do not have a strong political will, you can't really do anything at all. So what requires is that you need to have a strong political will. You need really to adopt that. So first is the strong political will is required for doing this part. Second is the financial innovation. Though we said financing, green financing, but it requires, terms and conditions to be different, new instruments to be there, new institutions to be set up and so on. I mean, different innovations, in the field of finance. Not only that, but also you try to the payment terms and conditions and all. This requires the financial innovations which needs to be there. And finally, it is the technological development which has to be taking place. So simultaneously. So three drivers. So what we mentioned is the pillars, sectors. Second is enablers. Third is we are talking about the drivers. This will help us. To my belief is the emergency that I talked about, the immediate and the era related, and also the transition that we were talking about, the transition which were taking place, which was relating to the COVID related, which means we were talking about the unavoidable and also related to the aspirational. Now, if we take in a holistic fashion, I think this is simple, understanding that if we're getting into this part, I'm sure we will move towards what we refers to the greening the economy, and in the process developing the having the economic development in a very sustainable fashion. Now, that's broadly is the type of a situation which exists, which is I thought I should share with my colleagues today, because that's what we are doing it indeed at our level. And that is the type of a situation which exists. Now, a second part which I come to is, what is that we do? I mean, I think this is nice to say, nice we talk, we develop, everything is all right. Then we need really to do something, kuch to karna hai, something we need to do ourselves. Now that is to be, we have to have what? What is to be there? So we need to get into this part. Hydrogen, number one, can be one. I'm not biased. I'm only giving an example, right? Hydrogen is the fuel in the power generation, transportation industry, and for heating. So this is what I think we can certainly do it. Again, I had to talk with some of those technical people, those who are scientists and all, how this can be done. And they started saying about me, look here, Dr. Sharma, power generation, you can have a gas turbines. This is what they suggested. Hydrogen ready boiler can be there. Steel making for that matter. I think by chance, I must mention, I forgot to mention it, that though India is emitting a lot of pollution, the gases which are greenhouse gases, and it is third in number all over the world. But industry-wise, if you look at it, there are iron, steel, chemical fertilizers. These are the important industries which are really important. The food. These are some of the industry which really have got 96% of the total pollution which is being, or the gases which are being generated. So that way, steel making, hydrogen usage in refineries, food industry, fertilizer. Now, these are some of the industries if you are being taken care, which means you replace the fuel. I'm sure something better can really come in. And this will be a very good starting point. And that's probably, we'll come to that, what we are really moving towards. Now, having said what I said, I think we were also looking at, is this enough, or have we got a certain role? It is said, I think it is one of the estimates say that around $15 trillion is required for this green economy, for these green, what is the sectoral part relating to the mobility, your agriculture, your transportation, etc. These are things around $15 trillion, which is required. Now, this is what I think I thought I should have some slide. Is there any role that we have as an individual, as an organization, as a civil society? Yeah, so some of those issues which are, we can have some less of plastic. I'm sure I need not really get into too much of it because of the time also we don't get into technicality part of that, but still just a general way, I think. We can also use, if possible, we can eat more non-meat, use less water, participate, organize. I think I had a webinar 2 years back, and we have some colleagues from US talking a very simple thing which mentioned about that what you can do as an individual. This was when we are, for example, gents, when we are shaving, we really have our tap water on. Can we reduce that, or can we just can we save water? Simple thing, but probably we are able to do that. We can contribute to some extent. I think that was an example given by them. Also, one of the things which they mentioned was that many times when we are out, not in a room, we don't switch on, we switch off lights. Can we do that? I think there were some of the examples they were mentioning that can we really do that part of it. So it was very nice examples, simple ones. But I thought it's worth really quoting. And I thought I just quoted because it is that I also made a sense to me also. I think we can just do that. Less paper we can use it. So those are some of the things we can do it. Some of the eco-friendly products also we can use. So this is how, as an individual, as a civil society, we can propagate. We can also get into those things. Will be important. I think this will be a part of it. Somehow the role of the government, I'm sure you are all aware, but still a few things I must mention. This is number one. I must say that these are low barriers of entry to green by businesses. Some are being, of course, done away with, but others can be. Reduce the cost of doing business for existing green businesses. I'm sure in the chat, I think someone mentioned that green products, they are very costly. I agree, I'm sure. So we need really to do that. We have to, because ultimately, I think we all know, I'm sure everybody knows it, the price is equal to the fixed cost plus variable cost, which means the cost. If the cost go down, I'm sure the prices will go down. Of course, cost plus profit is a price. So if suppose the cost go down, I'm sure even if the profit percentage remain the same, prices will go down. So that there, so which means one is a cost, is a capital cost, another is a cost, which we refer to the variable cost. So the capital cost probably means infrastructure and other things related, probably that can be probably taken care of and can be done. Like promoting renewables, clear policy decision regarding the upgrade of indigenous manufacturing capacity, excess subsidy on electricity led to extreme. Now, this is many times debatable, but then this happens. This is there. Privatize utility charges. I'm not for private this way or that way, but I'm sure if you do it, I'm thinking this is important. Carbon tax policy. Most of the old buildings and all new buildings can comply with the zero carbon ready buildings, etc. Those are environmental focus in schools. Of course, now it's more of that. I remember that even school kids, they are more on those sides, and that's what seems to be happening. So I think there's a possibility. A few other things which I'm sure which may be of interest, and at least this was of interest to me. I thought I should be sharing it with you. Conservation of water, as I said just now, adequate infrastructure for wastewater treatment plants. Very interesting. I recently visited. We have in our, the institute where our institute is located, called Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies. In front of it, this is called Heatherpur Waterworks. So it is a plant which is trying to process water. It is a water treatment plant, and supplies to Northwest Delhi, which means one of the biggest plants of water. So I happen to visit it simply because of my interest in terms of the water management and how water treatment, how do they try to get into that. I think this requires us to how they try to not only treatment, one part is that plant, and there is when from that plant, the water goes to the residential area or the commercial area, the leakages which take place and how people get waste that water. How can we do that sort of a thing? So probably from that point of view, I thought that some of the policies relating to that probably can be made, and for that, so that there's a drinking water available for people, those who are there. Now, this is what I thought I should be sharing it with you. By the government came out in 2023, some of the measures being adopted. And this was, of course, budgeted ones. I'm sure not only that is something new, you must have by this time know about it. A green hydrogen mission is already started by the government of India. This was an outlay of 19,700 crores. It will facilitate transition of the economy to low carbon intensity, reduce dependence on fossil fuel imports, and make the country assume technology and market leadership in the sunrise sector. Government is reaching 5 MMT by 2030. I think also we should, as a colleague, we should have a short and medium term view and also long term view. I'm sure you know it, that we have to complete 2015 to 2030, one type of a period. And then we have 2070, which is a long-term vision. So, which means we need really to work as a strategy on both these counts, short and medium to long-term. We are in 23, which means around 7-8 years still down the line. And also 70, which means for long time, we need to have strategy. So this is what. Second is the energy transition. Around 35,000 crores of priority capital investment towards energy transition and net zero objectives and energy security by Ministry of Petroleum. This is being suggested in the budget by the finance minister. Likewise, energy needs to be stored. So from that point of view, I think this was a viability gap funding. This is again required. Renewable energy evacuation. This is we have, the government is aware of it, around 20,700 crores, including a central support system of 8,300 crores being there. Green credit program is also being suggested by the government that they go for it. And likewise, there are many other programs. I'm given a glimpse of what really government is really trying to do. Don't take me that I am a propagation of the government, but then these are the facts which are happening. So I thought that I should try really to mention these things to our colleagues. Govardhan scheme, 500 new waste to wealth. I think very interesting thing, waste to wealth, is I was teaching this course, and I use the case called, those of you who are teaching, I'm sure they must be using it, Mahindra and Mahindra, waste to wealth. And near our institute, we have, of course, that landfills, for the waste. And our municipal corporation here in Delhi, they are trying their utmost best really to do something about the treatment of that, how really we try to create wealth from the waste. And that's what I think they were just talking about. What is that? The scheme called Galvanizing Organic Bio-Agro Resource Dhan scheme will be established on promoting circular economy. I did not get into what circular part is there, which means that instead of a linear production model, we are talking about the circular production model, wherein all we are trying really to have the product which has been can be reused or it can be reprocessed or whatever. I mean, that part can be possible. And this is another scheme which was being there. Another interesting scheme which was there, Misty, Amrit Dharohar, coastal shipping, vehicle replacement. All gives emission. I'm sure you all aware of it, but then government is aware of it. And now, having said all that, because time is, we are nearing the time, what Dr. Tyagi really gave it to me, I must mention now what I did. I tried really to provide you a conceptual or empirical underpinning of the sustainable development with relating to the green economy, which is what I said, it is a vehicle towards sustainable development. I mentioned around that what really, when we say green economy, what is that we are talking about in the green economy? Because the economy cannot be in vacuum. It has to have certain projects to be implemented, to be monitored, to be financed, etc., and so on. So we tried to talk about that. We also talked about some of the studies, because ultimately these are the people who are making at a global level studies relating to various countries, including India. And what is that they have it? And in that we said it, then look here, India has got a transition from the unavoidable to what we say the aspirational, and certain emergencies which immediately to be completed, and also some of those which can be the era filling, which means to essentially related, long time, that part, relating to the sectoral part, enablers, and also some of the drivers which are important, which needs to be done. So this broadly, we really try to get into that. Then we came into, is that all right? Conceptual part. Can we as an individual do something about it? Yeah, we can certainly, we can do that part of the thing. And I mentioned that in these sectors, it is estimated $15 trillion $15 trillion is what is going to be invested. And to the managers, it is being estimated once again by these agencies at the global level, some 50 millions, in fact, the jobs will be created in different sectors. And now, though they say that the jobs will be more in the case of the energy, power, right, infrastructure, these are the areas where they will have a jobs over a period of time. That broadly is what really we talked about. And we said it apart from from the corporate point of view, there's a huge lot of investment, which means they have a role to play. Second is we talk about the government. There are certain issues which the government needs to take into account, and this government has done it to some extent. So both as an individual, as a corporate, as a government, they have taken into account these parts. Implications being a faculty of management, I believe that they should be trying to have the jobs and other things which are this part, they are doing it. So broadly, that is what my theme was, that when we say greening the economy, and that's what was going to be is an important part of it. We should be getting that part. If we are not able to do it, now we as a faculty, and this is where I feel it very personally, and also I feel, and I urge upon you, 1972 thought leaders of that time, bureaucrats, politicians, everybody from the hues and rights, scientists, everybody got together in Rome. And they said it, here, what is this happening? We are just making money, prosperity taking place. But is this what we should be doing it? Is that human being meant for? Is that so? And they said, look here, not that. And they came out with a study of limits to growth. And I remember it, and I say many times, frankly, this part, when Harshad Mehta came out with that scam, I was in IIM Lucknow, and I was teaching some subject. Of course, I'm in the finance area, therefore I teach most of those subjects. So I was teaching those subjects, and I was I was also coordinator of placement, and companies used to come. They used to say, look here, we are moving in a direction, and we are moving, in fact, exponentially. Growth is exponential. And they used to say, sky is the limit. And we used to look at it towards the sky. And in fact, we used to feel that as a faculty, yeah, there's no limit to the sky. But later on, we realized that no, I don't think that is the way economic functions. Of course, somewhere something went wrong. And we as a faculty, as we say we are a thought leader, we should stop ourselves somewhere and we should ask questions. And question at that time later on, in fact, I asked myself, I was such a fool. I was not asking this question. I was looking at the sky. Sky is the limit, and there's no limit. Therefore, there was infinite. But that is not the case, because every industry has got a life cycle. Whether human being or industry or any product has got a life cycle. If this is a life cycle, naturally it is something you all know. Somebody is born, then you grow, and then matures and dies. If this happens, then how is it possible, which is that your sky is the limit? It's nice to say. In fact, acha lagta hai. I don't think it is bad. You look at it when you try to make that statement. But fact of the matter is that we need to be, and who will do it? Teachers. Who will do? Thought leaders. And we believe we are thought leaders. We have to stop somewhere. We have to ask questions many times, maybe uncomfortable ones, but stop. What is that? We are doing it. And that's what I think we should do it. So in 1972, limits to growth, beyond that limits also happened. Now it is a time we should also think in terms of sustainable development, greening the economy, which way we should move. And that is what our role, because we cannot depend upon the government alone. We have to contribute whatever little we can do in our way. And we faculty has to be very actively come out to tell our students, look here, this is what you should do. And that was led me to get into parting, which we requested the management. We want to start a Center for Sustainable Development, wherein we try to solve the problem, get into at least know what are the problems happening. And that is what we are doing it. We did waste to wealth, we did it, water-related issues, we did it, health-related issues, we did it. We went to the slum areas, we tried to help understand education, we did get into that. We need really to get into that, because ultimately, green economy does not mean only green is a word. It all refers to low carbon, human well-being. And a human well-being refers to the physical, mental, emotional, psychological, everything, which is also spiritual part of it. And then, of course, you have a social equity, which means that inclusiveness, everybody needs to be a part of it. And that's broadly is what we should try to get that. So broadly now, I shouldn't be taking not much time with this. Thank you very much. This is what we look for: low carbon growth, resource efficiency, social inclusivity leading to sustainable development, if you happen to have a green economy. Thank you very much. Dr. Meenakshi, if you have any questions, I'm sure there will be many. Colleagues are there, so they will be asking many questions. We'll share, in fact. Sure. Not that I'll be able to answer questions. I'm sure we'll be learn. This will be nice, lovely, great. We'll learn from each other. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such an enlightening session. And, it was sort of a crash course. I don't think so there is anything which is left beyond what could be discussed right now. This has covered quite a lot. And the entire presentation was in a very interesting way. We as a professors, we have a habit of talking. But for me, it was very enlightening, because as a student, I was trying to listen to you, and it was really engrossing. So very nice. And it was a very, holistic and a very comprehensive discussion that we had. And definitely, as you mentioned, there are a lot of questions that people want to ask. A lot of common theme in the questions also that emerged, which I would like to point out. And also, just to the viewers, there is a link which is shared in the Zoom chat box. That is a feedback link. And this link would be active only for next 15 minutes while the question answer session would be on. And all those, participants who fill this feedback form will be receiving a certificate from AIMS. So this link is shared in the chat box, and it will be active or live only for next another 15 minutes. So Dr. Sharma, you have spoken a lot, but then, I would really put forward few questions which were put in the chat box while you were discussing and while you were, taking this forward. So one common theme which, I saw, and also it was part of your presentation, that as, into the education sector, we have certain responsibilities towards students. And this is a very tender age. So if we can make them really aware about sustainability and green economy and the individual participation towards it, they would be a lot more responsible, because they're very receptive. Unlike us, who are like hard brained, it is very difficult for us to really change and get molded, but they are. So as educationists, it is our moral responsibility to take it further, and also as part of SDG, as the point 4 that you discussed, quality education. Maybe it's a green education, again we can incorporate in our curriculum. So, people asked how education sector can create the awareness by incorporating it in the curriculum, or, what are the ways in which also you have also incorporated it in curriculum. So they would wanted to know, so that maybe going forward, they'll be able to incorporate in their curriculum and put it for the students. So if you can just enlighten us a bit on that, because we are all from the education sector.
You're asking me, Meenakshi?
Yes, sir. There are only 2 people who can talk right now. All are on.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Meenakshi, I was bogged down with that issue, frankly, for a long time. As I mentioned to you in my initial that introduction, accounting and finance is my area, but then I thought that this is okay. But then are we able to solve societal issues? And issues are very different. I think that's what my whole idea was. And I was always concerned with that, can development be sustainable? And by chance, these SDGs and all that, and a very that basis I started learning. And then I had a talk with the management, can we develop that? And I think management is very proactive and they are visionary in that sense. They said, why can't we really try to have a center for sustainable development? So we started that. Under that, what we do normally is that first thing we did was that for PGDM, we should offer a course. And this course should be for 30 hours, normal. Though later on, we want to incorporate it. And I did not get into too much of details. For example, green finance can be one course, and likewise green development. I don't want to get into that part of a thing, because more you study, more you come to know, oh my God, so much is there. So you want to have in a capsule form certain things. So what we did was that we tried to have this sustainable business, because our focus as a student of management is business, frankly. Right. So it's a business orientation, and business problems are holistic in nature. And I'm sure every of my colleagues, those who are present here, they will appreciate that business cannot survive in the today's environment until they are solve these societal problems, whether it is through CSR or through any other means. I mean, there's absolutely nothing. I mean, you cannot be really having it that you are doing some work, you are selling your product, but you are doing certain things. So we started working on those. So first thing we did is we offered this course to the students and we made it compulsory. You see, I mean, when you feel, and that is where I think as a faculty, many times, though we are students driven, right? Students will say we will do it. And I think it happens with most of us. But quite a few times we need to put our foot down. Look here, this is important. You need to learn this, right? And that is what students enjoyed. And what we did, we have a project done for the practical. I used to ask them, look here, do this project. And in fact, it was a project based for a few sessions. So they used to write reports, try to work on it. And then I think they're understanding about what sort of a sustainable issues those things are, what are the type of developmental those SDGs are. And we did some of those things. So students really started appreciating and actively participating in that part of the thing. So it became that way. Though it is same 30 hours, which everybody got it, right? Because ultimately we are bound by AICT and others.
Exactly. So, we have to fit in that 32 hours max.
Yeah, I know, I understand that. But in addition to 30 hours, we have a webinars done.
Yes.
We have a conferences done. And I said, of course, students won't attend. I know, you know that it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
We make them, as you people have done, certificate provided and all that. And all that.
Right. See, I mean, we have to put this link and then certificate would be given to, and though we are of an age wherein, we should not be forced upon like that. But anyways, we are all like that. Great. So there were a lot of academic related questions again, because that is how the thought process goes. So somebody asked, what are the research areas maybe in the context of green HR or green, There is green in everything. Green, development, green buildings, and green finance, and green, whatever sector. So what are the research areas maybe you can highlight? Though I did my PhD again in sustainability, but then somebody asked, so I would like you to suggest what are the research areas. Maybe somebody wanted to do some research in it. That is why this question was put forward.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think in all functional, which means what we are saying is that this sustainability needs to be integrated with the functional area specializations too, is what is that we are really mentioning it. There's what we say, the type of people we do, for example, in say finance, we have green financing, the type of instruments that we are getting into, the institutions that we are getting into, the type of information reporting system, monitoring, the type of things which are happening, are they happening in India or elsewhere for that matter? There are many principles, in fact, which are being adopted in the case of the finance. Are they happening? I think there's a lot of work needs to be done. Same thing happening about the operations part. The whole value chain probably needs to be seen. It's not a question of merely to look into only one part. The whole value chain of any that has to be seen. Is it trying to be? Are you looking ethically from that point of view? Are we adding value? Then adding value from that, is that green or not? I think that requires the topmost, in fact, those issues. Same is about the HR issues. I'm sure those what type of people we are recruiting, what type of things, recruitment which is taking, because HR, which means what we are doing about the type of a compensation we are going for it. Right. You know it better. We have a chief sustainable officers, in fact, and new positions being created. Now, can we really think at that what they're doing it right from this stage, which is downwards to upward to downwards? I think we are with the thinking from sustainability point of view, because as I said it, research cannot be functionally isolated today. It has to be interrelated. HR cannot be for that matter. Forget finance, cannot forget sustainability.
Correct.
People have to be knowing about, here is an issue, water for that matter. Let's suppose water scarcity, there's an issue. And if water scarcity is an issue, then what type of people we should have? Are they conscious about the water scarcity? How do they behave? It's a behavioral issues. So many times, your research, when we say behavior in terms of the team, you behavior in terms of some of the issues relating to those water. Exactly. Yeah. Are they? So can we do some work on that? How people really start behaving? You have your taps on. Let's see as to who tries to, how do they try to, do they switch off or they try to close that or not, and so on. So point is that we can probably keep on thinking their mindset. Three things probably are important. Change in the behavior of the people, which is what HR issue. Institutions, which means the policies need to be there, which are very crucial from that point of view, and the technology part of it. Three things will lead to the sustainable development. Now, all things. Now, when we say behavior, which means invariably, you have other areas, HR, finance, everybody really. Same institutional processes have to be there. Those things need to really getting into that part of it.
Correct. So that we say, obviously everything is so interrelated. We can't just pick and choose that this is what I want to make green and the rest of the things is okay, fine. You don't want to, but then it doesn't work that way. Right from educating children till their behavioral changes happen, because that takes a lot of time. Building a holistic institution, as you said, making them, rigid policies and all that maybe, will force the corporates and hence force the employees and hence force the entire society towards it. And also the technological changes, because if I want to do it, my behavior is so, but if the technology doesn't support and the system is such that I need to really use a lot of resource to achieve something, then it defies the whole purpose of green. So I think those are the pillar. And then as research is mainly about the gap filling, so we can understand the gaps which is there. Maybe it is not as seamless like a supply chain. If we pick and choose marketing, okay, I want to do green marketing, but what about the entire system? Does it support that green marketing at the final end? So maybe that gap filling can be a research area wherein, is there a gap between what we are doing in particular area and the rest of it? So I think that there are a lot of research which can happen, and there are a lot of sectors like in finance also, in real estate also, retail and everywhere. Fine. So I think maybe we have just one question, maybe time for one question. By that time, hopefully everybody will fill the feedback form and they will get the certificates for that. So what are the major problems with the green economy? We are always saying that, or maybe there is absolutely no problem, but then there are always some problems associated, be it in implementation or, the forceful nature of, ensuring green economy. Maybe corporates find it difficult or whatever. There would be a lot of problems associated with green economy. So what are the cons? What are the problems associated in either implementing or green economy per se?
To my mind, Dr. Tyagi, is many times I'm not aware. Awareness an issue, right?
Correct.
I am casually aware. I mean, not that I'm not very serious about it. In fact, I mean, for example, a waste to wealth. We didn't know from waste we can have a wealth here. We didn't know it. We can recycle and get into that. When I mentioned and discussed that case with the students, they said, "Sir, ye kya MSME mein we can do it." I go, "Yeah, why not? You can do it."
Yeah.
And they started thinking that way. I said, "It's an interesting case, sir. We can do it. We have our own business. Can we do that sort of a thing?" And first part, therefore, is awareness. Awareness in a systematic fashion with a target orient, right? This is important. Second is, once we say the awareness is there, then how to really move ahead. I mean, I'm aware. I don't know how to really do it. I mean, a simple thing which I was mentioning about the US colleague, he mentioned it. Yeah, why don't you close the tap, yeah, when you try to shave it? Why water is flowing? They say, yeah, this is possible. I was doing it myself. So immediately I thought, yeah, this can be done, I think. So now I try most of the time. I will not say all the time, but at least I get conscious of that. He said, so therefore I should do it. So at least he said, look here, you can at least contribute this. You can switch off the light when you don't need it, or use so many lights on. Why you want to do it? When you are out, you can have that. But you have to tell how really to do it. So first part is just awareness, target orient. Second is how to do it. I think people are not aware of it. They are good intentioned people, right? We can really get into that part. So that is another part. Then of course, some people who will never agree. Fair enough, it's okay. I can understand. There are 5-10%. They will never agree. It's all right. No issues. We will tackle them in a different way. Then there's a theory X, there is theory Y, then there are many theories which will tell us. So fair enough, no issues on that. But most of the people, they are very positive. Most of the people, they just tell us as to, you tell them this is to be done. I tell you one example. In Lucknow, initial days of this computer came. Hello. And it was that big, that printer, dot matrix. And it was, that paper used to be big one, right? We used to get a printout and all that. So director mentioned to me once that, look, Dr. Sharma, this is heavy. He was from the finance area. He said, Dr. Sharma, this is too much here. It's a big cost involved. I'm going to issue an order. I said, why? As you know it, and I'm set up, I think when somebody does it, then they start feeling it. So I said, there's a better way. Better way is that you try really to have that on 15 days basis, you tell how much is the paper being spent or stationery being spent, not paper only, stationery, right, being spent. So initially when we tried to did it, some of the faculty, they threw it, hell with that, what this information. I mean, normal, as I also do many times, hell with it. So we didn't realize it. After 2-3 months, somebody said, let me see, what is this? So they said it, oh my God, this is there. Yes, stationery, this much. Then somehow he had information about the last week. So he also said that the last week was less. This was, what happened this week? And this happened. And later on, people become little conscious of it, right? And as we say, cost consciousness has to be provided in a many times subtle way. And then people started, let's be, whatever is needed, we should try to have only that much stationery. Why to waste it? So the point I'm making, the same thing is going to happen here. You know that, what is that quota? 9.8 point change behavior, change management. I think that needs to be probably getting into that. How really we should try it. So I think the same technique we need to get into, probably to help people to understand and change their behavior, because it requires change the mindset and also things of that sort. Implementation will happen. Of course, everybody will not do it, but at least most of them, they will do it. I'm sure. I'm sure they will do it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, as you said rightly, the intention is right. People are positive. Maybe the awareness and how to do it, and, that has to be emphasized. Has to be shared and then has to be emphasized so that, they know that they're doing the right thing. And yeah. So great. I think it was quite an insightful session. And also it turned out to be an interactive session finally at the end. And maybe our audience, gathered a lot of information on it. And everybody is really appreciating, your session. And they would like to have your PPT. I don't know if you have an intellectual property right to that. You would, but then they are wanting to have your PPT. So there's a lot to learn from that.
Sure.
That's the common request which is coming in the chat box.
Sure.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending time and taking so much of effort in enlightening us on green economy. And maybe going forward, this is one of the means wherein we can educate people, because we can educate the educationists who can further educate the people. So this is the mode. And I really thank AIMS for organizing many such sessions. This was again a very insightful session. I thank Dr. Sharma. I thank Dr. Sunil for having us all here. And I thank all the dignitaries and all educationists and everybody who is present here right now. Also on the Facebook, there are a lot of live audience who are live on that. So I thank you all and wish to have more sessions with you, sir. And, hopefully we'll meet again someday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I think they were very nicely, in fact, nice response they came. And Dr. Tyagi, thank you very much for really leading this, the whole discussion in a very nice and very focused way. Thank you, Sunil, for this, and also Professor Nandagopal, who provided this opportunity. Wonderful that way. It was my pleasure and honor to be a part of the whole this discussion. I like it, and thanks once again. Thank you very much. So nice. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Okay. Bye.